What's going on, my friends? I hope you're having an amazing week, and if you don't already know, my name is Anomaly. You can check out my website at legendary.vision. You can follow me on Twitter at legendaryenergy. Follow me on Instagram at dreamrare, and of course, stay tuned on Facebook at my page Anomaly, AN0MALY, for a bunch of good news analysis, real talk, and slicing through the mainstream media lies and the narrative that is being massively pushed to essentially brainwash the entire country and the entire world. I'm going to get right into it because it's very important. Donald Trump went on a huge tweet storm today against the Washington Post, and he continues to say the Amazon Washington Post. Amazon Washington Post does this, Washington Post is doing that. A bunch of people, including a lot of mainstream media sources, act like they have no idea what he's talking about. Oh my goodness, Donald Trump is so crazy, he's such a madman, blah, 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 blah. Why would he attack Washington Post? What does he mean? And I'm going to wait a few seconds for more people to come into the live stream. Please share this to spread the message. I know I tried to talk about this last week. My live stream got shut down. I reached 1,000 people or so. But I want to explain what's going on. And it's becoming more and more widespread and more known. And it's going to keep getting known. So Donald Trump is attacking the Washington Post because they're not just a news organization. They're not just like hey, I'm going to see what's going on and I'm going to tell the truth about it. And specifically, Donald Trump said, why are they lying about what I did in Syria? Donald Trump last week, he ended the CIA's covert program to arm and give weapons and money and all of this sort of funding to quote-unquote moderate rebels. That was the story that CNN was saying. That's the story that Washington Post was saying. Oh, we're just arming moderate rebels in Syria to attack the president of Syria. But everybody in Syria, everybody who studied it, everybody who went, Democrats, Republicans, they know that there's no such thing as moderate rebels. It's basically Al-Qaeda. So you had the CIA and the United States government funding Al-Qaeda, paying for their salaries, and literally funding and arming and giving your tax dollars to terrorist groups. And Donald Trump ended that program because he's outside of the establishment, he's outside of the military-industrial complex, and he ended that. And the Washington Post and Newsweek and all of these phony news organizations made this big story and said, Donald Trump, they twisted and said, it was Moscow, it was Putin's idea. Like, they can't fathom that nobody else would want to not fund terrorists. Like, oh, it's Putin's idea to not fund terrorists. Well, then if it's Moscow's idea to not fund terrorists, then which one of you disgusting individuals, whose idea was it to fund terrorists? Because no United States, if you ask 99 out of 100 people in the United States, hey, should we be funding and arming and giving your tax dollars to Al-Qaeda? Pretty much everybody in the United States would say no. Anybody in the United States who did that would literally go to jail. But our government was doing it the past 8 years and nobody was paying attention. So Donald Trump ended that, and instead of telling the people in the Washington Post, hey, you know what, Donald Trump ended the program of the CIA to fund and arm moderate rebels, aka Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and whoever really had the hard control of the ground in Syria besides the Syrian government, they lied about it. And when Trump attacks the Washington Post, I'm going to tell you exactly why. I'm going to connect the dots because it's not a conspiracy. It's not like nobody knows. Millions of people know. Jimmy Dore, a very honest left-leaning comedian / news analyst, says it all the time, and he also broke it down in one video, explained perfectly who the Washington Post really is. So please stay tuned, listen to this, tag your friends. If they're sharing Washington Post news articles all over, that's fine. I'm not trying to knock the whole news organization, but I think you should know who they really are. So the Washington Post was bought by Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is now the second richest man in the world, soon to be the richest man in the world. Jeff Bezos is the owner, the founder of Amazon. So Jeff Bezos owns Amazon. He just recently bought Whole Foods, the food store, the food chain. And he bought Washington Post for, I believe, you could look it up, I believe it was $300 million. So now the Washington Post that acts like, hey, we're just a normal news organization, you know, we're the trusted news organization, us and New York Times, they pose like they're the trusted news organizations, but they're really the #1 brainwashing propaganda news outlet on the market. And I'm going to tell you why. And when you listen to me, I want you to look this stuff up because it's not a conspiracy, it's not my opinion, it's not something that no one's cracked the code for. I'm not an investigative journalist. I'm just looking at the surface looking at what's out there. So Jeff Bezos buys the Washington Post, $300 million. Months later, he signs a $600 million contract with the CIA himself. This is not a conspiracy. This is not my opinion. This is a fact. This has been confirmed by Dave Weigel, who is a journalist for the Washington Post. So Jeff Bezos, they say it's unrelated. Of course, the CIA just wants Amazon's cloud data. No big deal. Jeff Bezos buys the Washington Post. And then all of a sudden, Jeff Bezos to the side has a $600 million contract with the CIA. So if you just bought this big news organization and now you signed a contract with the CIA that's 2 times as much, and this is not a conspiracy. The conspiracy is, the Washington Post is the CIA, but even their own journalists have admitted, they're like, oh no, we didn't sign a $600 million contract with the CIA. Jeff Bezos signed a $600 million contract with the CIA. So that's confirmed. That's confirmed by their own staff. It's not my opinion. It's not a conspiracy. It's a fact that Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post for $300 million. And then to the side, he says separately, it has nothing to do with the news source, of course. Because if I'm working and then all of a sudden I sign a $600 million contract with the CIA, oh yeah, it has nothing to do with anything. It's just to the side. It's for cloud data. Very hard to believe. So when the Washington Post says, when Donald Trump ended the CIA's covert operation to arm moderate rebels in Syria, of course they're not going to tell you the unbiased truth because they are literally the CIA. It's the mouthpiece for the CIA. So when you read in the Washington Post and the New York Times, Donald Trump ended the funding to moderate rebels and it's because of Moscow and it's because of Putin. No, it's not. Everything to them is Russia and Putin. They can't even fathom that people don't like Hillary Clinton. They can't even fathom that people like Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders and other options and Gary Johnson and libertarian and freedom. They can't fathom that people like free speech. They can't fathom that people want, prosperity and more jobs and, a better economy and more options and the ending of political correctness, which has been used as a smokescreen to lead us into wars. They can't fathom that, so they continuously just bombard the internet with straight propaganda. And this was confirmed today. Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard was on Tucker Carlson to say what she's been saying for years. She is a Democrat, not a Republican, not a huge Trump supporter, but she wrote a bill called Stop Arming Terrorists Act. That was literally the name of it. It was called the Stop Arming Terrorists Act. She was on CNN with Jake Tapper. This act was passed and it was picked up by Rand Paul, one of the only honest Republicans. So why would they make a bill called the Stop Arming Terrorists Act? Well, it's because the United States government under Obama was literally, not metaphorically, not, conspiratorial, literally funding terrorists, literally, in Syria. So when you have a big mess in Iraq and a big mess in Libya, because albeit I'm not saying Saddam was a great person, I'm not saying Gaddafi in Libya was a great person, but they killed him and left a huge mess. And as Al-Qaeda is growing and ISIS is growing, Americans who are actually paying attention, who are, Game of Thrones, football, whatever. I'm not saying I don't like football. I love sports. I love, whatever. But as no one's paying attention, everybody's just lured like, LGBT rights are passed. That's great. I'm very happy and blessed for the LGBT community. But there's other things going on that no one's paying attention to. And one of those things was the expansion of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. You got to ask yourself, well, where are all our tax dollars going? We wish they were going to education. We wish they were going to arts. We wish they were coming back to the people. But all our tax dollars are going to the defense budget. So if we have the biggest defense budget in the world by far, then how is ISIS and Al-Qaeda, who don't even have air forces, how are they expanding and expanding and expanding? And it's really not a secret. It's just so many people are so brainwashed and manipulated by fake news. It's because they were literally funding terrorists. It's not that they weren't just fighting them. They weren't just like, we're not doing a good job of fighting them. No, they were funding them. They were arming them. On Julian Assange's Twitter, he literally showed a document that said that they were not just funding moderate rebels, they were paying for their salaries like they were literally employees. And you have people that are Democratic, Tulsi Gabbard, who goes to Syria, talks to all the people, and all the kids, all the people in Aleppo and Damascus, all the big cities in Syria said, hey, can you tell the United States to stop funding Al-Qaeda and stop funding ISIS because We're trying to live a peaceful life here with our government. We're trying to work out our own problems. They can overturn their president if they want. People don't like Donald Trump. Do you see other countries coming to the United States to overthrow our government when they don't like Bush or Obama or Trump? No, because other countries figure out their own problems. We have a lot of problems. Our education has fallen to 18th in the world. Our health has fallen. Everything has fallen. Donald Trump says, make America great again, and they act like it's this big racist thing. No, you're the racist ones for not realizing our education is plummeting. Our health is plummeting. Our opportunities and our safety is plummeting because the mainstream media is a huge propaganda organization. And it's not a surprise when Donald Trump attacks the Washington Post. This is why they are literally the opposition of Donald Trump. And I don't say that because it's my opinion. I don't say that because I want to, sit down on my couch on Monday and be like, hey, let me call out, news organizations and a huge battle that's going on within our government. This is not particularly fun for me, but it's the truth. So when you have Donald Trump on Twitter attacking Washington Post and you have all these goofy, dishonest news outlets, oh my God, who knows what Donald Trump, Amazon, Washington Post, what does he mean? Why is he attacking Washington Post? It's because they're funded by Jeff Bezos, who has a contract with the CIA, and they're lying about virtually everything. And then they're acting like an activist group. They have democracy dies in darkness. Yeah, BS. They're not activists. They are the problem. It's out of Nazi propaganda. It's out of rules for radicals. It's blame your opponent. Everything that they're doing, they're pointing at Donald Trump times 50, and he's putting up a mirror, deflecting it at them, and more people keep supporting him. I've seen people over the past 3 months that were calling him racist, sexist, and a Nazi. They're supporting him now. They're lying about the polls. They're lying about how many people support him. I believe 66 million or so voted for him. The numbers are even higher now. His support is probably in the hundreds of millions. And if you go worldwide, it's in the billions because Syrians love him. They love him in Poland. They love him in other countries. The silent majority doesn't want to say anything because they're afraid of all the brainwashed people. Well, guess what? There's human lives on the line. And in Syria, Donald Trump did a great thing. He stopped funding Al-Qaeda and ISIS and moderate rebels who, whether they are who John McCain is saying they are, whether they are who Barack Obama is saying they are, Hillary Clinton is saying they are, there is a truth that whether they are them or not, they're getting overtaken, or they already are, Al-Qaeda and other Al-Nusra and other terrorist organizations. So Donald Trump sliced the funding. This is how manipulative the media is. And I hope people are paying attention. I hope you guys tag your friends, and I hope you share, because the real story is Donald Trump cut the funding to terrorists. That's what the headline should be. Donald J. Trump saves the day, cuts funding to terrorists. He stops the U.S. government from using your tax dollars to fund terrorism and to expand terrorism in the Middle East. Because it's also not a conspiracy. Terrorism has expanded over the past 10 years. We started the war on terror, and what happened? Terror rises. We start a war on drugs. What happened? Drugs rise. Crime rises, because you can't fight it with a stupid ideology. And that's what they did with the war on drugs, and that's what they did with the war on terror. They lied about everything, said they're fighting terror. Terror's running rampant. It's not my opinion. It's not a conspiracy. It's a fact. So the headline should be, Donald Trump stops funding terrorists. But what does the Washington Post say? Oh, Donald Trump does what Moscow wants him to do. Donald Trump is doing what Putin wants him to do. Oh, really? Putin wants him to stop funding terrorists? Nobody else? You can't fathom that Donald Trump would want to cut funding to terrorists and stop paying their salaries like they're government employees? It's ridiculous. So of course Donald Trump's going to go at the failing New York Times, because they are failing. They're failing mentally, they're failing financially, they're failing spiritually, they're failing realistically, they're failing politically, they're failing. The New York Times is failing. They're the failing New York Times. And the Amazon Washington Post, it's because they're owned by the owner of Amazon, Jeff Bezos. And do a little research on Jeff Bezos and who else he has contracts with. So they're failing too. They're failing spiritually. They're failing politically. They're failing financially. I don't know if that's the case. They probably have infinite money. It's just like, here's $600 million, here's $600 million. They're probably not getting it from ads and people and support. They're probably getting it from covert operations. Like, here, push out the propaganda, Washington Post, and pretend like you're this all-being beacon of knowledge. And then anything that happens, anytime this happens, Snopes and PolitiFact, which are also undercover organizations, they're like, oh no, it's not true, it's false, 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 false. They're both BS. I did a video on that. PolitiFact is funded by the same people the Knight Foundation, which funds the Clinton Foundation. So there's a massive connection there. PolitiFact might as well be the Washington Post. Snopes might as well be a PR team for the Washington Post. These are not fact checkers. These are not truth tellers. So when all, the people that are like liberally brainwashed or media brainwashed are like, oh, but look what Snopes said, look what PolitiFact says, they're lying. I mean, they're like PR teams. They're not unbiased sources. Like, let me tell the truth. They're literal undercover PR teams. So Donald Trump knows this. I mean, left-leaning people know this. Right-leaning people know this. Libertarians know this. It's common knowledge now who the Washington Post really is. It's common knowledge now who the New York Times really is. And it's going to start getting more and more and more embarrassing for people who support them, because now you're supporting funding terrorists. If you support these organizations, you're literally supporting funding terrorists. If you support CNN, I mean, they're literally employing terrorists. Google CNN Salon Al-Qaeda or CNN Salon terrorist. You'll see that CNN was employing terrorist propagandists. I mean, it's not a conspiracy. Once again, I'll say this 5 times throughout the broadcast. It's not a conspiracy. It's not my opinion. It's not my feelings. It's not my bias. It's the truth. It's reality. And no matter how much you ignore reality, I have something hard to tell you. It's not going to go away. It's just not. I wish it would. If I was the only person who was talking about it, maybe it would. But I'm not. There's millions of people who know, tens of millions of people who know, hundreds of millions of people who know, and there's only a few people who don't know. They might be in the thousands, maybe they're in the lower millions, but it's all masked by fake polls, fake news. I mean, you look at Tucker Carlson, he's one of the best journalists on television. I mean, I could care less about mainstream corporate news, but Tucker Carlson is one of the best journalists on mainstream television in modern history. And he's getting 4 million viewers. And you have all these other fake news shows, they're getting 200,000, 300,000, 400,000. I mean, you have independent news journalists, myself, Jimmy Dore, H.A. Goodman, Tim Black, Caitlin Johnstone, Zach Haller, a lot of people who are doing it independently, and they're getting millions of views, more than even the biggest broadcasts on CNN and MSNBC, and it's just growing and growing, and people are getting inspired, and word spreads quickly. I mean, it's an unstoppable force. If Donald Trump wasn't in office, I might be like, oh my goodness, like maybe it's not going to work. But I mean, look at the facts. Donald Trump is in office. He's winning. He's getting more and more popular. There's no possible way they're going to beat him in 2020 at this rate, because they're on Twitter being like, ooh, the Democrats are with a new deal. It's like they're promoting themselves, and they don't realize that they're the laughing stock of the United States. I mean, everybody knows, even where I live, it's a very liberal area. Everybody I talk to, every Uber and Lyft driver, every person, they know the truth. They're just the silent majority. They're like, oh, I don't want to get attacked by all these crazy, brainwashed people. But I personally just don't care anymore, because we have a president of the United States who's calling it like it is. He's a truth-telling president. He makes mistakes. He's not perfect. There's certain foreign and domestic policy things that maybe I would do differently. I don't think he's the all be or end all, but he's bashing through political correctness, and he's bashing through this smoke screen of like, oh, I love Obama, he's so funny, he's so cool. Yeah, that's great. Obama is cool. Obama's funny. God bless the Obama family. I'm not here to tear you down, but what you didn't realize while you're like, Obama's so cool, is we had a government that was funding terrorists. I mean, you call yourself a social justice warrior, you call yourself a liberal and an activist and a Democrat, then I think you should care about kids in other countries. I think you should care about Syria. I think you should care that ISIS is growing rampant, and that this whole refugee crisis that everyone's fighting, oh, let's fight the travel ban. Who started it? Where did they come from? You think refugees just pop up like, hey, we got to go to the United States? They don't want to go to the United States. Syrians don't want to live with you. They don't want to live in your suburban neighborhood. They don't want to live in your city. They don't want to live in your state. They don't want to live in your liberal fantasy wonderland. They want to stay in Syria. But the politicians you support make it impossible for them to stay in Syria. And then someone comes along trying to protect everybody, save the Syrians, protect them, protect the United States. You guys scream racism, sexism, and xenophobia. I mean, it's ridiculous. But it's not going away, because the truth spreads fast, and it's unstoppable. They tried to stop Martin Luther King and made him a bigger superstar. They tried to stop Malcolm X and made him a bigger superstar. They tried to stop Donald Trump, and they made him a bigger superstar. They tried to stop Milo, and they made him a bigger superstar. They tried to stop Alex Jones, and they made him a bigger superstar. They try to lie about everything, and all they do is just enable the truth to multiply and multiply and multiply and multiply and multiply. So I pray and I beg, don't fight the good energy. Don't fight the love. Don't fight the truth. Just have conversations, have dialogue, understand everyone's not racist, everyone's not sexist, everyone's not xenophobic. We're all good people trapped in this crazy world. Even anybody that's negative towards other races, towards themselves, towards other people of religions and stuff, they're hurt, they're scared, they're lost. That's the reason somebody's negative. Nobody's born evil or mean. It's all good people here. Just a bunch of people are scared, they're lost, they're paranoid, they're fearful, and they have every right to be, because this is a crazy, confusing world for everybody. Nobody chose this world. Nobody chose history. Nobody asked 300 years ago for everything to happen, or 200 years ago, or 100 years ago. Everybody that's born now was born into this crazy world, just like you and me were. They didn't choose their skin color. They didn't choose their ethnicity, and in a lot of cases, they didn't choose their religion. So we need to show a little more love, a little more compassion, and let's not just believe a bunch of fake news articles, because CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, while they have this front facade as a news organization that's an activist and spiritually sound and, truth, they're really not. It's, like I said, a facade. And that's the whole reason that people are trying to bash through the political correctness, because political correctness is not nice. Sometimes the truth is blunt. Sometimes the truth hurts a little bit, but it protects you. It's like if you got a bunch of stuff in your teeth and you're like, hey, is there anything in my teeth? And you're like, no, bro, you're good. Go ahead, go on your date. And you got a bunch of stuff in your teeth. A good friend tells you, hey, yeah, you got spinach all over your teeth. Get it out or your date's going to think you're a loser. That's what a good friend does. They don't lie to you like, hey, there's nothing happening. We're giving everybody rights. We're going to save the world. Meanwhile, they're bombing 7 countries and displacing Syrians and Libyans and Somalians all over the world because of their failed policies in their countries. I mean, Donald J. Trump, the president of the United States, stopped funding terrorists in Syria so the Syrians can deal with their own government. This is what we've been asking and begging for 8 years. So just because the Washington Post has the audacity to say, oh, it's Moscow and Moscow's pulling the strings. No, that's the opposite of reality. The truth is, Donald Trump put America first. Donald Trump put the people first. Donald Trump is trying to say, hey, let's get ourselves right and let's stop worrying about the rest of the world. So what does the New York Times and the Washington Post do? They manipulate reality and they say the exact opposite. Oh, our government's being taken over. They're being funded by other countries. They're being stolen by other countries. No, that's literally the opposite of reality. It's the complete opposite of reality. The reality is it's not being taken over by other countries. It already was taken over by other countries. And their whole democracy dies in darkness. They're being funded by all the people who are doing everything that they're accusing everyone of. The whole Russia thing, everything they accused Donald Trump and Jared Kushner and Donald Trump Jr. of, they've done times 50. They're smashing hard drives. They're smashing computers. They're smashing cell phones and iPads. I mean, it's ridiculous. Everything that they're accusing, they're doing times 50. It's not my opinion. It's not conspiracy. It's facts. And that's why every day that you watch Rachel Maddow and all these news sources that say, oh, any day now he's going to get impeached, they're lying. That's why it's not happening. That's why it hasn't happened, because it's never going to happen. They're literally lying about everything. That's today's newscast. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'm going to post my links below. If you would like to donate to the movement, I appreciate you guys. It keeps it fueling. I don't need that much. I mean, they got hundreds of millions of dollars, a bunch of interns running in circles, hitting each other in the heads, paying for advertisements. I don't pay for anything. I don't need to, because it gets shared naturally. Because who would have thought people like the truth? Oh my God. Wow, people like the truth. Oh, I thought they liked getting lied to and getting advertised to. No, they don't. They like the truth. They like natural. They like good food. They like water. They like good energy. We're made of water. We like oceans and beaches. We don't like fake news and lies. Who would have thought, hey, I have an idea. Instead of getting mad at me, instead of getting mad at Donald Trump, why don't you just tell the truth? Then you could make a lot of money. You could make more money. You could still be powerful. You could still be the Washington Post and the New York Times. And, that dude, you could have all the women and all the money. I'm not trying to take your power. I'm trying to help you, because the world has literally shifted, and I don't want to see you fall to the wayside. So I'm your friend. I'm not the enemy. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not a threat. I'm literally the savior of you. Stop lying. Tell the truth, and I promise you, you'll make more money, you'll last a lot longer, you'll have longevity instead of destroying these news organizations because Donald Trump is not stopping. Conservatives are not stopping. Progressives are not stopping. Millions of people are not stopping. Tens of millions of people are not stopping. Hundreds of millions of people are not stopping. It's not going to go away. It's just not. It's past the point of no return. We have the internet now. It's completely changed the entire structure of the world. And if it didn't, Donald Trump wouldn't be in office. It would be Hillary Clinton. But it's not. Welcome to reality. Donald Trump's president. This is what's happening. Share this video if you like it. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to drop my links below. Stay tuned for more real talk. Check out my video section. I got poetry. I got some raps with real talk in it. I have videos where I live stream. I have videos where I have play-by-play. I explain myself. Check out Jimmy Dore's video from yesterday that I shared about the whole Russia thing being a whole lie. It's the party over here. So join the party. It's fun times. All right, have a good day.